In our first story, the Medina District Court has refused an application to grant bail to Prince Charles Dejo, a businessman accused of allegedly beating his wife, Lillian Dejo, severely, leading to her death. Lawyer for the accused person, Captain Nkrabia Ifadate, retired, argued that the court had the capacity to admit the accused person's bail, citing a judgment of the Supreme Court. The prosecution, however, prayed the court to refuse the bail application to afford them more time with their investigation. The case has been adjourned to 12th April 2021. Now, lawyer for the accused, Captain retired Nkrabia Ifadate, spoke to Joy News after today's proceedings.
Our application is pending and it's coming up on 31st of March for the hearing to take place for bail. I have already written a letter here for the record of proceedings so that the High Court judge will see what happened here on the 8th of March. I have no doubt in my mind that the High Court will admit my client to bail. He is innocent, very innocent. And this ongoing trial by the media is not in the interest of justice and fair play. There should be nothing like trial by the media because you have tied the hands of the accused person. The accused person cannot speak. The accused person cannot make a press conference. The accused person cannot do any interview. But people are using social media. They cannot even substantiate what they are saying and just making all manner of comments against my client, which is not the best. And you see, we must not forget that in Ghana, anything that happens to somebody can happen to you. So the law must take its course. The law must take its course.
The father of the victim, Charles Kangla Blasu, also spoke to the media.
My daughter is dead. I don't understand how she died. And so I'm still grieving. I am grieving. As any father would. I'm believing God that justice will be served. I guess the reason there's so much support is because domestic violence is condemnable anywhere, any day. It shouldn't happen. And so, irrespective of the fact that it is my daughter who is dead, everybody who is concerned because that thing has to stop. There are many women today suffering in silence, and they should come out boldly now out of it. Nobody has to die again under such circumstances.
Now, some women's rights activists, including former Gender Minister Nana Oyebampoado and the FIDA, were there.
Have the African women lawyers here and other civil society groups, the Domestic Violence Coalition, and we are monitoring this case obviously because of some of the implications and the domestic violence and others involved. Yes, we were in court, we are watching brief, and at court today bail was refused, bail was denied. We've heard that it's been repeated at the High Court. Our role is to make sure that the law is applied and that Lillian gets justice.
So we are here to support the family of Lillian. Domestic violence is a major problem in this country. UN has called it a shadow pandemic, and it's actually a shadow pandemic here because the people who die, which go unreported in this country, is so high. And the number of cases that are reported and unreported in this country on gender-based violence is so high and unacceptable. So we are watching brief. We want to make sure that justice is served. And that's why we are here, to support the family and to ensure that nobody goes through what Lillian goes through again. It's just a recurring problem.
Away from that story, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, says it is ready to face any legal action from any person or institution over its disapproval regarding students wearing dreadlocks to schools. Now, President of the association, Angel Carbonu, told journalists the association was opposed to a directive by the GNS to the Achimota School to admit one such student who was turned away for wearing rasta. According to Mr. Carbonu, Achimota School has the right to ensure its rules and regulations, which forms part of the general discipline in school. It is therefore wrong for the GES to insist the school recalls the said students after refusing them admission for not adhering to the school's prescribed disciplinary codes.
NAGRAT welcomes anyone the headmistress and the staff of Achimota did not deny the young man admission. They rather spelled out to the young man the rules and regulations of Achimota Senior High School. We cannot begin this day to start making exemptions for individual students based on their beliefs, based on their culture, based on their tradition, and based on many other issues. That will lead to a chaotic school environment. Because of this, NAGRAT disagrees totally with the position of the management of the Ghana Education Service. And we are calling on the Ghana Education Service to redirect the headmistress and the staff of Achimota Senior High School to ensure that the rules and regulation of Achimota Senior High School, and indeed any other senior school, is abided by every student. Let me repeat that we are calling on the Director General and the management of Ghana Education Service to redirect the management of Achimota Senior High School to ensure that the students, and indeed everybody, abide by the rules and regulation of the school. We are also calling on parents to know that every school has its own rules and regulation, and they should read the rules and regulations of each school before they allow their children to apply to those schools. Now, people are talking about human rights. Let me inform everybody that human rights is better ensured in an environment of rules and regulation.
He also said that NAGRAT is ready to face off anyone or any institution in any court over the matter.
NAGRAT welcomes anyone who will want to go to court on this issue and on issue of discipline in our schools. But that when that court issue comes up, NAGRAT will attach itself because we are an interested party. That court case will not be limited into the wearing of rasta. It will be expanded into the establishment of rules and regulation of our schools. If the courts decide that everybody can do whatever he or she likes, you will all be our guests as teachers. We will also develop ways and means of ensuring that we have proper chaotic school environment. But until then, we expect that all school rules are to be obeyed. NAGRAT solidarizes with the management and teachers of Achimota Senior High School and any other senior high school to ensure that the school rules are obeyed. If any teacher feels intimidated, if any management feels intimidated or is intimidated, the full weight of the union will be brought in support of that management and those teachers in those schools. Thank you very much.
Live on Joy News today. Now, earlier on Joy News Interactive, Mapito Sebidi spoke to members of the public via Zoom on this matter.
I'm with NAGRAT.
Okay.
GES has issued a directive. But one thing we must understand as a country is that school is a place where there should be discipline.
Yeah.
So if we start in the class where everyone can do whatsoever you want, then I wonder where we are going to ensure that students are properly modeled up, so that in the near future we will have citizens that will behave responsibly.
The father and the school should have met before Okay.
And even the Achimota authorities should have admitted the student first. Then afterwards, they sit down with the father and we communicate. And I don't like what GES did.
Yeah.
It's ad hoc. It's ad hoc. They have to go behind the scenes and meet authorities and talk about this.
Okay.
If you see, society has become a way, maybe. Okay, society in a way, when people see people with dreadlocks and stuff, then they are like, they are bad, they are evil, and they are stuff. But that's not what, because there are people who are Rastafarians, right? Or they have these dreadlocks, but they are in military. You see, so we shouldn't use this stuff to judge people outside.
Yeah.
We know that every institution, we have rules and regulations.
Yes, please.
If we don't follow these rules and regulations, at the end of the day, there will be chaos. Everybody can do whatever he or she will want to do. Because if you are coming to school, you are with a dreadlock.
Yeah.
Someone will also come that I have my religion.
Yeah.
Or I have my belief. This is what I also want to do. But the school is an institution. And then the rules and regulations governs everybody in the school. If we are going to follow a trend, excuse me to say, like each and everyone is supposed to do whatever he or she likes, the trend will follow, because the boy that you are talking about is from home. The same people are going to grow.
Yeah.
And they don't want to abide by rules and regulations. That's at the institution. Yes.
Okay.
So if you're going to break it, at the end of the day, then everybody is going to follow suit.
You're live on Joy News today. Let's move to 3 students of the Adeso Presbyterian Senior High School who have been crashed to death in a motor vehicle accident on Sunday evening. The all-male students were riding on a single motorcycle from Nsawam to Asamankese when they collided head-on with a Hyundai bus at Roman, a suburb of Adeso. 16 others, including the driver and the mate of the bus, who sustained varying degrees of injuries after their vehicle somersaulted, are said to be responding to treatment at the Nsawam Government Hospital. The identities of the deceased have been given as Nana, Yao and Kwame. They are said to be between the ages of 16 and 18. Eyewitnesses say the overspeeding motorcycle overtook 3 buses ahead of it and crashed into the bus. The bodies of the deceased have been deposited at the Nsawam Government Hospital. Cecil Gabra is a transport expert who is calling on governments to up its game on making the roads safe for commuters.
Laws are not working. And I think I cited an example just yesterday to a very good friend that I was driving on the Spinters Road, and there you are, 4x4s, driving in the middle of the road with their lights on, their strobe lights are also on, headlights. I mean, these are not government officials. They are individuals who have fixed the lights on. So this is it. Laws are not working. And for me, the political events that took place last year is over. It is time for us to work. We really need the police together with the military to help us solve this problem, because I mean, my grandmother, the fancy lady, would say, whatever happens, they'll continue to do it if the enforcement is not working, right? We have the regulations, and pillion riders are not even supposed to be doubled or supposed to even have the knowledge of riding, you know? And that's what is causing a lot of accidents on the motor riding issues, right? People who sit behind the motors are not riders. They do not know how to ride, so they don't know even how to sit on the bike. Some of them will hold the riders so firmly, hold their jackets, and some of them will be looking on the road and so on. They are supposed to sit down, you know, quite flexible. But in all situations, I think it is time for us to clamp down on unregistered motorbikes, clamp down on riders who do not have the requisite documents to ride. I'm talking about the license A, and then majority of them do not even have any insurance on them. Do they wear helmets? A lot more must look at it. And then also we need to look at the issue of those tricycles, okay? And tricycles, I mean, they are quite a nuisance now. right? Where are they riding? On highways and so on. Laws must work in this country. So I just told a friend that, oh, we haven't seen anything yet. Oh. We are going to have more.
Away from that story, former Chief of Staff in the Kufuor administration, Kojo Mpiani, has taken on the leadership of the governing New Patriotic Party, NPP, accusing them of failing to sanction members, breaking the ban on internal politicking as the race to succeed President Akufo-Addo heats up. With 3 years to go for the Delegates Congress of the party to select a flag bearer, camps are being formed within the party to canvass support for some high-profile members of the party, including the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and Trade and Industry Minister Alan Kojo Tremanting, as well as Agriculture Minister Dr. Osifri Akoto. Mr. Mpiani tells Joy News that the development is not helpful and can jeopardize the program of government.
I've been in a government and I knew how people were doing it. There's so many who have ambitions. But now it looks like the whole party's attention is now being paid to who is going to take over from President Akufo-Addo. That's what I think is right. It's wrong. It's not helpful at all, both to the party and to the government. Even the party, what are they telling Ghanaians? If you are a leader of any group and you have set rules and the rules are not being respected, what do? You have to take action to make sure that the rules are respected. You can't come and tell me there's a ban, and you know that if there's a ban, this is what is going on. So what do? Unless you are not an effective leader. I believe it was 1996. You know, then even we were in opposition. But a lot of groups sprung up. Friends of Kufuor, friends of this, friends of what. And then the party realized that that was not in the interest of the party. So at one meeting, the party took a decision and said, this must stop. So called all of this and said, this must stop. And it stopped.
Live on Joy News today. Now, political scientist and lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Ali Duseidu, says the nature of campaigning for the election 2024 flag bearership position in the governing NPP could cost the party that election. He says the party already has an uphill task in breaking the two-term jinx, which has typified Ghana's elections since 1992. In his view, prospective candidates must rather adopt covert strategies to rally their base for the race to come. Already, party chairman Freddie Blay has declared a halt to all campaign activities for flag bearer. Here's him speaking to my colleague, Kwesi Parker-Wilson.
A lot of the people who may be interested, or individuals who may be interested, naturally so, they come from his cabinet. Maybe those who are appointees, who should be working to execute policies and programs of his government. And they may spend more time, they may be more focused on nurturing, on nursing their ambition towards the flag bearership. That's where I would say it's extremely negative and destructive. And therefore, the party frowns on that. We have regulation as to what to do and when to start all these things. This year is too early in the day for people to start doing that. It's a bit reckless.
So would you suggest to the president, those within his cabinet who are lacing their boots now, which is distorting the activities of government, should we them out of his government?
The president has already read a route out to many of them.
But we know Alan Tremanting is still there, the vice president is still there.
None of them have already expressed their interest.
We've seen posters of Alan Tremanting on social media. We've seen that of the vice president, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
They might not be the individuals who have put those posters up.
But do you expect them to issue a statement to their followers to desist from doing that?
Definitely they will do that, I believe.
They should do that, or they will do that?
I believe they will do that. I will expect them to do that as well soon.
Because it's been in the system for quite some time now.
Today, I've read on the news that Dr. Koto
the great minister, right, that's correct.
Distancing himself from utterances that apparently going around that he might have made. And one or two things that he's supposed to have done is denying that one. I think I expect people who are being accused, although allegations are being made that they are picking before the time starts to do so. It's important.
And that includes the Vice President and Alan Chamartin, the Trade and Industry Minister.
The Vice President and I believe Alan Chamartin also have not come out openly to distract from what government is doing.
Yeah, but as I mentioned, there are posters on social media, activities.
We discussed that yesterday. And so far as we know, many of them, most of them, have not sanctioned or put up posters by themselves.
But you expect them to at least
definitely
ask the followers to desist from such practice?
I believe that should be the case.
Now, Dr. Seidu believes this move is best for the party.
It is too early and not too early, in a sense. From the perspective of the party, I think it is too early for individuals to start campaigning in a very open manner the way they are doing. The reason is that it distracts government performance. And usually, the success of the party in 2024 is incumbent on the performance and delivery of the current government. So that kind of contestation can lead to serious sabotage, serious undermining of each other, and in a way that can completely distract government business. Most of these people are either ministers of state or cabinet ministers, and that can detract them from, can cause a detraction from their day-to-day performance, and that will not collectively inure to the benefit of the performance of the government. So from the party's perspective, people should respect the calendar, the electoral calendar of the party, and pick out when it is the right time. But to the individual candidates, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. What they can do is that they can start mobilizing at the grassroots level in a very covert manner. Establish fan groups, establish campaign teams, bases, and to be able to do that kind of groundwork at a very discreet pace. So at the point that the party is going to open up for nomination, it is not going to be a swell of the actions of the grassroots at the covert level to a more overt level. And that's going to be a serious continuation of planning.
Political desk Evans Mensah believes the president must step in to ensure the gentlemen comply with the party's directive.
The two individuals who, even before an official campaign is launched, are seen as front runners, as in this case, Dr. Bawumia and Alan Chamartin, are both people that the president, has employed to work for him. I think he needs to stamp his authority. And there are suggestions from our own checks that in the cabinet meeting last week, that point was made to the two gentlemen that they should back off. I think there should be a sterner. There should be a much sterner conversation on this. And we've heard Kojo Pini, for example, last week say, tell us what President Kufuor did back in the day when all the 17 guys wanted to compete. All of them resigned. But the challenge is you have a very ambitious vice president who also wants to take over. I mean, what do you do with him, for example? The president cannot, I believe, sack him from his position, right? I mean, for Alan, you could have a conversation with him and so that he can do it himself. I think step aside by himself. So the president himself finds himself in a difficult place. But I think in the end, it comes to his ability to get them to see what the bigger party interest is in holding off now for a couple more years for the party to sort out first its internal arrangements, learn from the lessons, and plan for the future.
Now, away from politics, Medical Director for the Upper West Regional Hospital, Dr. Robert Amesia, has revealed the lack of constant supply of water to wards at the hospital is hampering the smooth operations of the facility. He notes that though the hospital has an inbuilt water supply system, water supply is cut anytime there's a fault in any of the facilities, as it always requires the closure of the entire water system at the facility nearby, thereby stalling operations. Now, Dr. Amesia says the facility is now buying polytanks to store water for the various wards, a cost too huge to bear. Here's Rafiq Salam.
one of the myriad of challenges that the Upper West Regional Hospital is facing 40 months after it starts operation is in the area of water supply. According to the medical director of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Dr. Robert Amesia, though the state-of-the-art 198-bed facility has embedded in it dedicated water supply system upon completion, they always have challenges anytime there's a pipe burst in any of the buildings.
The water supply system in the hospital was designed to ensure that as if it was, if you have a pipe burst in the hospital, then you have to shut the whole water system down. Unfortunately, we do not have reservoirs for the individual buildings, so that when you have the main pipe, not functioning, you can ensure supply of water for some time.
The hospital, on their own ingenuity, is using the meager resources available to buy polytanks for the individual buildings, a tax too huge for them to bear alone.
The pace at which we are buying the polytanks, we think that is disrupting our services, because anytime pipe is not, we have a pipe burst, we don't get water to the various units, and there's usually a lot of confusion. The hospital is fully functioning because all the units are in operation. So at every point in time, you have many people in the hospital, and it goes with the usage of water. So water supply is an area that we require support.
Two other areas of concern are accommodation for staff and inadequate consumables.
The other thing that I have to say is, consumables, medicines and non-medicine consumables. Because of COVID, in the past, we used not to wear masks every day, but now every staff has to put on a mask to protect himself or herself every day. So the usage of personal protective equipment has skyrocketed, and equally we need support in that area. So we appeal, we must help ourselves before people come from outside to help us. We are not seeing much of help from people within the region, apart from, said Dr. Jader, and then Justice Yoni Kolendi. We are yet to receive massive support from people from this region. And we think that as our own hospital, we have to show the way first.
Dr. Robert Amesia made the remarks following a donation of a culture pressure machine by one Mr. Edward Appiah of the Freemasons. Former Dean of the UDA School of Health and Medical Sciences, Professor Edward Jadari, presented the item on his behalf.
One of our members, by name Edward Appiah, who is also a member of the society to which I belong, was wondering how you would clean the place. The cobwebs that would be so high, how you'll be able to remove them, because the place was looking so neat that we expect it to be maintained in a position in which it is as of now. So he came out as an individual to promise that he will get this machine.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam.
Live on Joy News today with me, Daniel Daze. Daryl Kwao is next with business, and he'll be telling you how the city is expected to remain largely stable for the rest of 2021 as it appreciates by 0.6% against the US dollar so far this year. That's up next. Stay with us.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. The city is expected to remain largely stable for the greater part of 2021. This is a good sign since this will help institutional and retail consumers plan well into the year. Now, according to the Bank of Ghana, the city has appreciated by 0.6% to the dollar on the interbank market, but even stronger at Forex bureaus. Currency analyst Karij Mati tells Joy Business the trend is expected to continue, though there are anticipated pressures during the latter part of the year.
Appreciation it has recorded from the start of this year doesn't give us reason to think that it will remain in the appreciation territory until the end of the year. Definitely there will still be some modest depreciation to come during the course of the year, generally because we are still recording a deficit, or we will still record a deficit on the current account balance, and that deficit definitely would cause some level of depreciation. But we believe this will be depreciations that will be within acceptable range, one that would not disturb market confidence, as we saw last year when, despite the positive start or the strong start to the year, it still depreciated by some 3.9%, but it was a depreciation that did not disturb market sentiment and confidence. This is the kind of outlook we have for 2021 as well. Of course, as the economy is expected to recover, the import side of the economy also should pull up some demand for FX.
In other news, presiding members of the various assemblies in the Ashanti region have been tasked to assist in the growth of private businesses in their localities. President of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry says such support will enhance job creation and help boost internally generated funds of the assemblies. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin has more.
Nana Dr. Apia Ajay was speaking at a meeting in Kumasi. He urged presiding members to adopt and implement innovative policies with the available resources at their disposal to develop their respective areas.
We need to have a good private sector running. Government cannot pay taxes to himself or herself. So therefore, it is also necessary and important that they find a better way to improve on the internally generated funds at the level of the assemblies. If they are able to do that, then they will be able to educate the masses at that level and to have the best practice at that level. And that's why I said that it is very important, it is very, very useful also to have good governance where we have the private sector support to make sure that employment can also be generated at that level, to make sure that people do not go to fight on the non-existence of white-collar jobs in the city.
Isaac Ohiming Prempe is the Dean of Presiding Members in the Ashanti region.
Conference this morning, we deliberated on a lot of issues, but the key ones we want to talk about is the office of presiding members. But some of the assemblies, you will go there, you don't meet the presiding member because the person is not having an office where he will operate from. And aside that, the budget that is being approved every year, there's nothing like allocation to the presiding member's office. By that, the NALA president talks about for the assembly members. But we are still appealing that if the presiding members for the various assemblies will be given a car, that will help us to work.
Mr. Prempe also challenged his colleagues to put their expertise to bear in budget formulation at the assembly level. President of the National Association of Local Authorities of Ghana, Bismarck Inkum, called on the government to support presiding members.
We will be discussing this with the minister and see the way forward. And I know they have also raised the issue about ex gratia, that it has also been made the responsibility of the assemblies. It's a constitutional requirement that the payment of such should come from the assembly's own resources, and that is the internally generated fund. And the concern is that there are assemblies that can't even raise up to 50,000, 20,000 in a year. So if they have 20, 30, or say 40 assembly members, and they have to pay 40,000 in ex gratia, where are they going to get the money from? So they are asking for uniformity and also for government to look at possibility of changing the law so that it will be, that cost will be borne by central government.
A report by Mohamed Nuruddin.
And we've got a full bulletin of business news coming up at the top of the hour. Up next, sports. Stay tuned.